Now, Pope Leo says he plans to continue speaking out against the war in the Middle East. His comments after Donald Trump's direct attack on the leader of the 1.4 billion member church. Leo also saying, though, that he doesn't want to get into a debate with the president, as he said the Christian message is being abused. That as the Pope himself continues his historic visit to Algeria today. Well, we're going to cross then to Rome to get the view from there, from our correspondent Seema Gupta. Seema, first of all, let's talk about this controversy. I mean, almost a row, I suppose, with Donald Trump. I mean, how is it being seen there?
Well, here in Italy, as you can imagine, across the board, political as well as church leaders really condemning it. And the story, of course, was the top story in all the bulletins and is also featuring in almost all the papers. We have La Repubblica, a left-leaning daily from Rome, talking about Trump and his insult to the Pope, saying the statements that were made are without any precedent. The error of the White House, it says, confusing faith with power. And then we have the Milan-based Corriere della Sera also talking about Trump's shocking attack on Pope Leo XIV and the condemnation from politicians, with Miss Meloni saying that Trump's words and statements are unacceptable. Then you have the Turin-based daily putting this juxtaposition of the two images, talking about the schism of Trump. You have the image of Pope Leo speaking in Algeria, and then the AI image that Donald Trump posted, showing himself to be what many have said is a Jesus-like image. The Rome-based daily Messaggero also leading with the insult to Pope Leo. And then finally, you have the Italian Bishops' Conference paper, Avvenire, talking about the gospel with a high voice and saying that it's necessary. The Pope responding to Trump saying, I will not be afraid. I'm not afraid of the Trump administration. And an editorial talking about those who fear peace. So really, across the board in the media, that very strong reaction. And, you know, one has to wonder about Miss Meloni herself, who has in the past cultivated a close relationship to Mr. Trump. But of course, in this instance, having to have a very rare rebuke of Mr. Trump and the statements he made, perhaps also realizing that some 66% of Italians have a negative view of the US president.
Seema, it all comes, doesn't it? Perhaps unfortunately, really, because it's rather overshadowed his historic visit to Africa, kicking off in Algeria.
Yes, absolutely. That is also a very important visit. It's 4 countries. The Pope is traveling to 11 cities over 11 days, taking 18 flights and starting in Algeria. That's really significant because it's the first time a Pope has ever visited this majority Muslim country. Just 10,000 people in a population of 48 million or so are Catholic, but it's an important visit for him personally as well, because he will be walking in the spiritual footsteps of Saint Augustine. Now, that is the spiritual father of Pope Leo. He's part of the Augustinian order. And for him, it's a really important visit. On the way, on the papal plane, on the way to Algeria, he talked about how it was a deeply personal and important visit, and how he has mentioned St. Augustine even when he was elected almost a year ago, and he has continued to mention his teachings across this whole year. Before this trip, he's already been there twice before, but this time round, he's hoping to bring his message of peace as well as Christian and Muslim dialogue, stressing on the Augustinian idea of building bridges. Now, while he's there today, which is a really important part of the visit for him personally, he will actually be visiting the archaeological ruins of the ancient Roman city of Hippo, where the ruins of the basilica where St. Augustine is said to have preached are located. He will also be visiting a small order of nuns, and at the end of the day, celebrating Mass at the Basilica of St. Augustine. Now, St. Augustine, of course, one of the great Western thinkers of Christianity, but of course, his roots are actually in North Africa. He was born and he died there. So a very important visit, very symbolic for Pope Leo, for the Augustinians and for the Algerians as well. The Algerian president himself saying that Algerians feel an immense sense of pride, he said, on Pope Leo's arrival, for the fact that St. Augustine is actually from there.
Seema,